His teacher was paralysis. Her teacher was addiction. With love, they found each other. You are here now for the Conscious Couple Podcast.
And we're back for round 2, episode 2. Are we going to look back in 10 years from now at our wildly successful podcast and go, do you remember our second one? How lame were we?
Maybe we're even lamer in 10 years. I mean,
we could be even lamer in 10 years.
We may be.
Oh, honey, that would be a travesty.
You trying to get sweet on me?
Okay. Round 2, we're going to give this a try again. So, I don't have my boom as promised in the last episode. So I'm going to be holding this microphone. I had planned on it, but this recording we put it up in the schedule because we're flying to Spain tomorrow night. We're going to Spain to the Spaniards.
What was that? Spain. What's that?
Spain.
All right. See.
Anyway.
Do you really think people want to tune in for this nonsense?
Okay. All right. So I don't have a boom. That's it. I don't have a boom.
That's what she said. Anyway.
So I'm going to be holding the microphone this time. We're going to try to keep it under 55 minutes
and listen,
today.
I'm just saying this so everyone understands. I have no idea what we're talking about. I have no idea. I am as much in the dark as you are. And that's that. So I guess you're running the show.
They're not in the dark because they probably have a title.
I have no title. I have nothing. I just show.
You know what? Sometimes, honey, that's
kitchen.
best. Yeah, you just show up. The talent just shows up, as he would say. So, actually, I think today is going to be filled with all sorts of wonderful information and knowledge and inspiration, hopefully, and something that they can walk away from, I suppose.
Are we talking about cats?
Yeah.
Inspirational cats?
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Is this going to be an
today,
hour
honey?
of 15 minutes of inspirational cat videos?
Yeah.
I knew it.
You got to keep your mouth on the microphone.
I knew it.
Okay. Aside from all of our nonsense, today, for round number 2, episode number 2, I thought it would be perfect to talk about transforming your worst moment into your greatest gift, because somebody I know wrote an actual book about this, and that's somebody I know
did write a book,
next to me.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
I really did. I'm pretty
so
proud
great
of
opportunity to plug the book if you haven't read it. Finding Ugly. It's on Amazon. It's a quick read. You'll probably read it in one night. So I know there's been tons of people that have read this book and they loved it. Mm-hmm. Lots of people. And so I thought, what an opportunity for me to talk to you today about what that means, transforming your worst moment to your greatest gift. Maybe you could talk a little bit about why you wrote the book and what it means, because here's the thing. There's so many people out there that have gone through really hard, tough things in their life, and they would tell you, there's no way that was my greatest gift. That was horrible. That was awful. How could that have been a good thing? Or I'm sitting here with some sort of diagnosis, or my husband left me, or my kids hate me, or whatever it may be. And how is that supposed to be good? Right? I think a lot of people ask that. So let's start with, why did you write the book?
Well, I'll be honest. I think that the reason why I really wrote the book in the beginning was really for my kids. I wanted them to know that even hard things that show up and happen, they're opportunities to create better. So I always knew about failure was just an opportunity to do it better. And I always kind of took that because as a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever, you have to know that failure, you have to redefine failure as just another opportunity to get to where you want. So you eliminated one thing and that's the failure. You eliminated this one thing you did. That's not the way to get there. So come up with another idea. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, but I'm going to need you to talk more into the mic.
I'm going to need to talk more into the mic, but I'm so loud. I'm very a loud person.
That's true.
So I think I'm okay. Anyway, so that's really why I wrote the book, is really to first of all, detail, because I could remember all the things that had happened to me, the two big events in my life to that point. And I wanted to document it so my kids and my grandkids knew my life. I think everybody should be doing that. I'll be honest. I think you should be writing a book to your children. I mean, I wish my parents did, So really, that's kind of where it all kind of came from. And it kind of went from there.
And where did it go from there?
It went right to you, darling.
Was that a setup? No. So what was your message to your kids in writing this book?
To overcome, and not even overcome. To again, failure is just another way of being great. And to be great. To just really be great. To don't let anything get in front of you to stop you. And I think in writing the book, going back into, I guess really the answer to the question is this. Going back and remembering and going back and watching the footage of me being paralyzed and, to back in that place, in my life and where I was mentally, emotionally, physically I knew, but mentally and emotionally. And it really showed me where I was when I started writing it and where I was back then. And that event got me here in my life. And at the time, and obviously now, pretty damn good. Like, wow, I never dreamed that
we'd be going to Spain.
To España. I never dreamed that my life would be, I guess, in this direction. I don't know. With somebody I didn't know, right? So I think that's why it was, wow, if that event can get me here, and I knew it did because of the way the event shook out and what it taught me and, the moments in that really deep, I don't know, desperate state. A real desperate state to trust this thing that I couldn't see, hear, or feel, And it was something that was close to me, but it wasn't me. It was close.
And what do you mean by that? Just so people have a reference.
It was, all right, so some people pray to a god or, Buddha or whatever your religious or your spiritual belief is. So, listen, I could have sat there and I could have prayed to God. Hey, dude, listen, I've been a pretty good guy. Well, that's what I call him, the dude.
Him.
I've been a pretty good guy. I've really tried. And how about cutting me a break here? I could have done that. I wasn't really my style. In fact, I was extremely spiritual. And in the way of universal, I guess. I read all the books, Deepak and Tony Robbins and Dr. Wayne Dyer, all of that. I was such a huge fan of that because it resonated, right? It spoke to some part in my soul and kind of like a remembering. And, back then we didn't have all of the, I don't know if evidence is the right word, but all of the stuff out there that talks about this now. Now you have, what's his name? DeStefano. Mateus DeStefano, and, all these Abraham Hicks, Dr. Joe Dispenza, all these different things that are, I know Ramtha. I remember, I don't know if Ramtha was during that time. I think it was after, but even Ramtha was really, really, really far out there. Like, that was like, holy cow. But I still identified with it because there was a voice that it spoke to me. So, I don't know. Did I get off track? I'm sorry. I'm going to España tomorrow.
My God. Where have we taken this
I
conversation?
don't know, honey. I really don't know.
So back to the book, back
Yes.
to transforming your worst moment into your greatest gift. Because I
I
was
think that's what
there
we're
in
talking
the
about.
beginning. I was there when you first started writing it.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time you wanting it for your kids, but also because you made a promise on a beach one day that you
I
would
did.
be great.
Well, I think, and that's part of it. Part of writing it to my kids was being great. You know what I mean? Like I think the first part of it, of writing it for my kids, that's really where it kind of started. And then it kind of grew from there to me, honestly, to write it for me, because no better reminder than your own,
Right. Right.
your own words. So, but then it started to become for, I guess anybody else that was in the same position that I was, right? Because in a way they are me. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean, because you talk this language with, that you understand, Scott.
Yes.
But I think that's where, I wanted people that were like me, that were desperate. And the answer wasn't there. The answer that you could hear, that you could feel, that you knew with a certainty that this is the way I just trust, and I know all will be great. I didn't have that. I had the voice and I trusted the voice, but there wasn't anything to help me. There wasn't anyone out there that said, well, they would say, well, pray to Jesus or baby Jesus or to God or, whoever. But I didn't have that. You know what I mean? Like,
What did you not have? What are you trying to say, honey?
I don't know. It's a bad idea. Well, I didn't have this validation of this thing was there.
And when you say thing, okay, so let me just try to let me do that.
Are you gonna
Yeah,
do
I'm just
the-
gonna keep shoving it in your face.
Okay.
As the constant reminder to keep your
Okay.
mouth in front of the microphone.
Okay.
This is only podcast 2 people. We're newbies.
Well,
Okay?
yeah.
So give us a break.
Kind
Come
of,
on.
sort of.
Yeah.
No one's they're having fun watching the show.
Yeah. So let me try to break this Scott language down for some viewers. What I think you're trying to get to or get at is that you didn't 100% trust in the universe, source, God, whatever you want to call it. You didn't have anybody to talk to about it. You just were left to your own devices. You watched people, you followed people, but it's not like you had a community or you had a partner at the time, or you didn't have anyone really to discuss this with. So you didn't know if all this spiritual stuff, some people call it new age, which I hate that word. Some people call it, wow, we are really newbies because your battery's about to die on the laptop. Isaiah's going to have to cut this right now. So what I think perhaps you're trying to say is that you didn't know if you trusted.
No,
that
I
there
didn't
was
have
a-
anything to trust.
Right.
Only my own
Right.
belief in it.
Right.
It wasn't
exactly.
like I had,
A
missionary
religion
children
or-
come in
right,
and
right.
say all you need to do
Right.
is put your hand on the Bible and
Right.
everything is going to be
Sure,
wonderful.
Sure.
It was new age.
Yeah.
And it was looked at, at that time, a little crazy.
Woo woo crazy. Wait, which
Woo-woo crazy.
I think it probably still is. We just
It's
we
still,
just don't
I
have
think
any
it's
attention
way
on that
more
anymore.
mainstream than it was
Sure.
then.
Sure.
For sure. But I don't know. There was this thing inside me that it just said you're going to be okay. Yeah, I don't.
I think everybody has that voice. I don't think it needs to be defined as
But it
one
wasn't
thing
a
or another.
fear.
Right.
There wasn't a fear, which I just didn't believe it. I just didn't believe that this was it. That I just
Are you
swear to
talking about being paralyzed?
Yeah.
Oh, had no idea this.
Why? What do you ask?
I was talking about you wrote this. Okay, let's
All right.
take it back.
Okay.
And I'm gonna keep putting
15
this
minutes.
in your face.
15:50.
Okay. So trying to wrangle you is just like this wild child.
Try living in the body of
toddler
this
that you're
wild
just
child.
trying to
I mean, can I have some sympathy for being me, please?
My God. Okay. Let's rein this in a bit. Let me try a different question.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. So, Scott Sunderland of Finding Ugly, Transforming Your Worst Moment into Your Greatest Gift, the love of my life, my person. Yeah, that's right. What do you mean?
Right
No, I don't think our viewers, that's not this kind of podcast, at least not yet. So, what do you mean, like I said in the beginning,
transform your worst moment
into your greatest gift?
into your greatest
No,
gift.
I want you to break that down, and I'm
All right,
going to
so
try
give
to
me
keep
the
you
first
wrangled.
breaking point. Tell
Okay.
me the first question.
So,
ask me the first question.
This is how we'll frame this. This is how we'll go. Somebody just has gotten a diagnosis for some kind of illness.
Okay, I like this.
And they are asking you, Scott, what do you mean by transforming my worst moment into a greatest gift? So you have that scenario, or let's say you have a scenario where someone's partner, their husband, has died, which can be very traumatic, right? How do they do that? And then I'll give you one other example so you can touch on all three.
Okay.
I was abused physically as a child. I wasn't. I'm just saying this person is saying I was abused physically as a child. How can I transform that into my greatest gift? Because it really seems awful.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I think we have to realize we live in this bubble of this human. Oh. Terrible. It's really terrible. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to answer these questions right now. It's very funny. I'm just trying to really, really give, I don't know, the feeling of how it is for me. I'm just trying to really understand how I feel it so I can. This is why I need a translator. This is true. Because the feeling is sometimes difficult to explain how that is.
Well, I've heard you explain this a million times, so I know it's
I get
similar.
it.
Okay, so let's just start with the first example.
All right,
Someone
give me
got
the
a
first one.
diagnosis. Scott, how do I transform that moment into my greatest gift?
Well, first, I think if you are, let's say you are, I'll do this in an analogy. If I can get a good analogy. God, I hope it's good because this hasn't worked so far today. But let's say you are driving down a road and it seems great. And it's just a one-lane road. You're driving down, nicely paved, and all of a sudden the road starts to get rougher. And then all of a sudden the road turns to gravel. And then pretty soon it's just kind of potholes and mud and trees across it. You're going to turn around, right? Because well, obviously this road is not going anywhere, right? So then you turn around, you go back down the road, find out where maybe you should have turned off that you didn't, and then take that road and it turns into a 4-lane, beautiful highway. So if I would ask you, my dear, what were the things that made you turn around? Why didn't you just continue down that road that you were originally on?
Why did I turn around?
I'll answer.
This is par for the course.
Well, the trees and the trees laying across the road, the potholes, it turning from,
Yeah, a really shitty drive.
it's all of a sudden it's very uncomfortable. It's a shitty drive. So there's a lot of people that kept going down that road, and then pretty soon they got stuck in the mud and they couldn't move, and then it's over for them, right? And maybe that's their life. Maybe they got this diagnosis, or maybe their partner left them, or maybe their business failed, or fill in your dots. You just have to look at it as it's the road that you're supposed to turn around on because you just went down the wrong road for a little bit. And we look at our lives as I have 90 years or 80 years to get this thing right, or maybe 100 years to get this thing right, where that's really not the case, So for me, in my instance, I knew that this was a reset for me. This, when I was in the hospital, and I knew that it was a reset for me. it was rebooting the computer. Something was talking to me, and I was going to find a way to listen to that voice and to trust that voice, which really has kind of led me here to you, right?
And I think that is the voice you were trying to describe earlier in your mumble jumble.
Well, sometimes, that voice eludes me, and it says, let's see how he answers it without our help.
I see what's
Womp,
happening.
womp, womp. Yes.
So with a diagnosis, how do they turn that into their greatest gift?
Well, because then you can look at it. So let's fill out, the road scenario. So let's say you turn around on this road and you get out to the main road, and obviously you're upset. You wasted all this time. You put stress on your body and your vehicle. You maybe had some really difficult moments in there, and they were left in anxiousness and stress in your body. But you turned around and you finally found your way back to the highway, and you get back on the highway and you find your road. And suddenly as you're driving, the scenery gets more beautiful. Like you start driving like right on the edge of the ocean, and the sun, how it glistens on the water. And then, you pull over to get some gas, and you just get out and you can smell the ocean air, and it just hits you, and it just feel like it grabs you in the moment. Like here I am, smell me, right? And here I am, see me. And you kind of become very in the moment. And maybe while you're in that moment of, rapture or clarity, or, I don't know. I'm having trouble with words anyway. But maybe somebody comes up and, goes to walk by you and trips, and you help them up, and maybe that becomes your person. Well, then you would say that going down that road was the greatest thing that ever happened to you, that the road you were on, you turned away from. And you got back and you tried again on another road. Now, you could have just kept going down saying it's going to get better on the original road, and again, stuck, and there you would be, right? So it's kind of the same thing. So if you look at, whatever the situation may be, if it's a physical thing, then I look at it as, let's say it's a diagnosis of cancer. Okay. So I look at it as that this cancer isn't what's wrong with you. It's what's right with you. It's trying to get your attention. And it's trying to tell you, listen, dude, you're going down the wrong road. Mm-hmm. So you need to course adjust. Mm-hmm. And if you keep going down this road, nothing will change. Mm-hmm. But if you turn around and you go try to find that beauty in the moment of the ocean, of the smell, of the sight, and you try to get in the moment, then it's just this cancer is just trying to course correct you so it can lead you to the life that you want to live. Because the thing that was shocking with me was I read all the books. I listened to all the tapes. I did all the stuff, and here I am, a very healthy 34-year-old man laying in a bed, unable to move. And it was like, this led me here? Like, are you kidding me? I didn't ask for this. I asked for way better stuff than this. I asked for this kind of car, for this kind of boat. I wanted this kind of vacation. But I was just asking for the wrong things. I know that now, right? So I had to course correct. And it's like, well, I really got this sense that, dude, you were laying in this bed because you just didn't get the message. Yeah. So you didn't course correct. You didn't turn around on the road. So now we're the tree that has stopped you. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to have to learn. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to turn around, and you're going to go back to where you came from, and you're going to have to start all over again. And that's where I think we get confused as to these things are trying to kill us. That road falling apart is not trying to kill you. It's trying to recorrect you. It's trying to turn you back to where you got off the road. Does that helpful? Does that make sense at all?
Yes.
I like to talk in riddles, like
Yes, you do.
the Joker.
Yes, you do. So there's a woman in my program for women, and she has a diagnosis of cancer, and we decided that she would give it a different word, a different name, because the C word obviously has so much energy
and as soon as you say it, it has fear. Fear wraps it. Yeah, sure, absolutely. We got to fight it.
Yeah, we
got to fight it,
burn it out, all those things.
But maybe that's what I mean. Maybe it's the thing that's trying to. And think about it. If you were the cancer, right, or Lily in this, in what I've. People in my course, what I would say, call it Lily or call it something else. If we look at it that it's trying to actually be the thing that course corrects you, then it's saving you.
Yeah.
Right?
She ended up calling it messenger,
which
I thought was so
That's
perfect.
Right. Messenger.
Because it's a messenger.
It's a messenger. And if we stop looking at this thing as if we hate it, I just want to go live my life. It's trying to give you your life. It's trying to give you what you asked for. But in order to get what you asked for, I'm going to have to throw this thing at you, and it's going to scare you to the point that your life is now limited, and you're going to have to fix you in order to get better. So, but then we take that in Western ideology. What was that word that I screwed up? We take that and then we say, we must eradicate it, we must fight it, we must remove it, instead of maybe what it's asking is, hey, man, I'm trying to save your life. Yeah. So I know you're going to come after me. I know you're going to come after, what I stand for, this cancer. I know you're going to come after me. But what's hiding behind me is your real problem. And it's the problem of what I like to refer to as your habit, what you were born with. And when I mean born, I mean your first 7 to 10 years, the people that you were around, the environments you were in, what you sensed in every direction, that's hearing, that's feeling, that's taste, that's all senses. And you're going to have to untie these knots if you want to now be bigger, if you want to be source, if you want to be touched by source, if you want to be, feel what love really is, you're going to have to go down this road. And, I've seen and I've heard so many stories of people that would, go into workshops, or like with Dolores Cannon, they would just come into her office for a session and they would walk away healed. And it was, okay, so what is that? I really believe that is just in a way, it's kind of a dimension in where you are and where this cancer exists, okay? And as you increase the frequency in your body, and we do that with meditation and breath work, right? That we elevate ourselves to a new dimensional shift, a new dimensional place where
a new frequency.
A new frequency, like a radio station. Yeah. So instead of Jazz 201, we're on Country 98, right? You're just changing the frequency. So if we learn that we can just change the frequency away from this thing, and actually, for me, again, it's changed my life in such a poetic way, because it gave me everything I really wanted. And I realized that later, much later, thank God, because I would still be there. Yeah. I would still be in that life of being unsatisfied, and not because of the people around me, because of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the other thing. We got to take drastic responsibility of ourselves and not blame other people. It is 100% you.
Yeah.
It was 100% me.
Yeah.
I was unhappy, not because of my partner, not because of my kids, not because of my job, not because. I was unhappy because of me. And it wasn't, a horrible life. It was a beautiful life. It just wasn't where I wanted to be. I don't know. What is that? Is it fear?
Unfulfillment.
Unfulfillment? Fear of unfulfillment, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just not being in that heart moment, which, I felt. And as I say, it was a defining moment in my life.
Yeah.
And when the heart exploded and there I was, it was like, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah. The connection, I think.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is, to make this succinct and kind of ground it back down for people to grasp onto and take something away from this, is that the thing that you think is your worst moment, whether that be, you name it, whatever that is, you would call your worst moment, is actually your invitation, and it's inviting you in to see what's underneath that. And Scott and I both deeply believe that everything physical first starts as emotional, and that when something physical does eventually manifest, it's because there's a lot of emotional things that have happened for years and years and years prior to that, all the way back to the first 7 years of your life. So I think taking any moment and looking at it almost as a scientist of your life, at least that's what I say all the time, and say, let's go digging. What's underneath this? Let's get to the root of this. Yeah. And once you start that journey, that begins the journey that eventually transforms into your greatest gift, because it then, if you take the invitation and you decide to go down the road, then it will bring you to your greatest life, to your greatest self, as did in your case.
Yeah. I think it kind of has to.
Yeah.
So
let's, you sort of talked about the diagnosis and being paralyzed and how that really was a message for you to, hey, dude, wake up. Like, you need to start living life differently, which I think is the invitation. Like,
sure,
let's take stock of you and your life for everybody. Where are you at now? And how can you take this and become your greatest self? You become your greatest life, which for a physical diagnosis is one thing. But then the next thing, you watch your best friend drown in front of you. Many people will tell you when they hear that, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, it's so tragic. Oh my God. So how do you take something like that and make that one of your greatest gifts? How have you been able to do that in your life?
Well, first off, in his death, there was birth, right? And what I mean by that is, again, I was kind of brought up spiritual, and I think I just knew spiritual, like, I don't know, you know what I mean, like remembering like the power that you are, even as a young kid.
You just had a remembrance or a knowing of God or source or spirit,
but
or the universe.
But me, I'm that.
Yeah.
We all are, by the way. But I mean that.
You always had a deep knowing,
but I guess there was this hiding from it. Like I don't know. Like my mom was that way, and my mom was deemed as kind of a misfit or crazy or, oh boy, here she goes again, because she believed in all the woo-woo stuff, for all of her life, and of course she had really, really difficult things happen to her too when she was young. So, people looked at that and they would say, oh, well, because she's a kook, because her life's a mess, because of this, all that. So I didn't want to be judged like that. So I didn't want this stigma. If I believe in this, everybody going to think I'm crazy? Hey, man, I'm a business owner. I own a construction company, for God's sake, And I didn't want people rolling their eyes behind my back, and definitely not in front of me, because I kind of felt, but I think there's a memory of maybe like our journey here. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is what you're going to do, dude. You're going in, your source, you're going to go to this place. You're going to play out this little experiment that we have for you. And your name's going to be Scott. You're going to be this person. And you're going to live a full life, and things are going to happen to you. And the main thing is you want to go into this game fully believing that you are this character, Scott. We don't want you to remember because it's going to take the fun out of it. But you're basically going on a roller coaster right now, and it's a great roller coaster. So in the car I go, and out of my mom I come, and I'm still on that roller coaster. And the roller coaster, it has scary parts and it has thrilling parts. So I think in watching this death in front of me, which, again, I thought I created it, right? Because I was at fault. I felt that if it wasn't for me, he would be alive. And that came after. But watching him and watching the moments happen, and you know how they'll say, time stood still. Time stood still. There's no question. It was the longest time of my life. And of all the things that were happening in the moment of trying to get him saved and to see his moment come to where I knew he was gone because I saw it happen. Like, when people say they saw death coming, I understand that now because it was kind of a beautiful moment. It really was a beautiful moment, but it was tragic at the same time. And I didn't know how to take that at the time. I really didn't know how to take that at the time, to see this beautiful moment because he was getting to go home. And I think I knew that. And I saw it. I literally saw the light, the whole thing. It couldn't be more beautiful, this setting, on a Friday afternoon, late Friday afternoon in the summer. And, the sun and this beautiful twinkling of the water. And how can something so tragic happen in such a beautiful moment? I don't know. It was really hard to compute it that way. So I think I've always known that there is something after death. Death isn't what we believe it is. I don't know why. I've always known that it's not. And I've been surrounded by a lot of, death, and I know it's a going home, and I really do intrinsically know that. So I think that whole event really brought me to the point. Okay, listen, it's time to be great. It's time to be who you are. It's time to wake up from this being afraid to be judged for your belief. And I think there are so many of us out there, especially when you are, in the corporate world, or you're, like for me, owning a business and all that. And there was people in my life that, sure, maybe they believed a little bit of it, but I was deep in the rabbit hole. Well, how do you know your color blue is my color blue? So in other words, what you're seeing and experiencing isn't what I'm seeing and experiencing. It's a totally different thing because I can't see through your eyes. I can't feel through your hands. I can't hear through your ears. So how do you know you're hearing what I'm hearing? And then suddenly it becomes a very solitary existence. You're just seeing the game, but you are the producer of the game. And for me now, in even stepping more and more into that and letting that unfold, it's like this voice talks to you. And it doesn't come in the way of a voice. It comes in the way of a feeling or something. I don't know. But then to get the evidence of it later, of what was said to you, and then to see it later in a way that it shows up to where it's like, oh, I believe this now. This is truth for me.
So would you say his death potentially allowed you to come out of the spiritual closet, the woo-woo closet?
I think it had to.
Yeah,
I think it had to, because number one, I saw what I saw. Listen, I saw what I saw. And I know a lot of people wouldn't understand it. And, that affected me in such a great deal of seeing what I saw, seeing the beauty of it. And, obviously, to see this person who's just beautiful in every way, just beautiful, perfect, just an amazing individual, lose his time here. obviously it's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. But then again, I have to bring it back to a singular experience in my world. So I didn't want to live that life of living in the fear of that or the shadow of that, or I wanted to take that and say, okay, so listen, if I had all these things happen to me and I can be truly living my greatest life right now, and to have my person, to have my environment, to have the people that are in it, to be able to do what I can do, to be able to be movement again, healthy again, experience life and being in their heart, then you can too.
Yeah.
Because I have some, I have some people in my life that have lost children, which I can't imagine, but their life is kind of over. And it's so sad if you were that child. It's like, listen, I was just called back. If we looked at it that way, I was just called back, and what are you doing? You got to live your life.
Sure.
You're in the game, man.
Yeah.
And it's funny when I waited so long because I wanted him to come and say, dude, we're great. What are you talking about? But I just wanted to be in the pain of it, I guess. I don't know. And that moment,
well, you didn't know how to get out of the pain.
I didn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, same thing.
Yeah.
I'm in this massive pain.
Right.
I need to find out. I need the relief valve.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I need this relief valve.
Yeah.
Please take this guilt away from me. And he's the only one who can do it because he's the owner of it. Right. That's how I went in. And then, in a meditation that, it was the beginning of my life. It truly was the beginning of my life of this voice, and it was him.
Yeah.
And I had the visual, I had this voice, and it's never been me. It's always been you because I am you. So the holder of the guilt is you, dummy. I don't have to forgive you. There's nothing to forgive. I had my road. Yeah. And here I am. And I realized that voice and that was energy. It was just a little ball of energy. And I put his character on this little ball of energy so I could experience him in my play.
Yeah.
And I did that with my grandmother because my grandmother was the first to come, this little ball of energy that just showed up again in these meditations. And it was just this glowing ball of light, and then boop, my grandmother's face came on, and immediately I got it right then. It was like, oh my God, that's how it is. People are just these little balls of energy, these little balls of light, and we're putting our perception of what we need from them on them. So they become not their character that they're going to play, the character that you need them to be.
Yeah.
And now it all made sense. It was perfect. It was the perfect thing. So then I also had to realize that I was a character. And then these things start to show up that start to confirm that, right? This idea. And it comes in other voices. Jim Carrey shows up and he says, just pretend you're just a character.
Yeah.
And, like Jim is just a character, but I'm the actor.
Yeah.
And the actor is God because I am God.
Yeah.
And I am playing the character of Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And that spoke to me so much because we always feel like it's coming from outside of us, all these conversations. But what if they're only conversations in us?
Right.
That we're only having with ourselves. But yet I need you to show up in this most beautiful package that I can ever picture. By the way, this is where you say, aw. And
I can hear it now.
And then this is my experience.
Yeah.
So the beauty is literally not in the eye. It is the eye. It is the person. It is the beholder. The beauty is the beholder.
Yeah.
So you're the perceiver of the information that you're taking in. And, I could go on forever.
Yeah. Those are other rabbit holes.
No, they are. They are.
But
I think
what you're saying is, and just for frame of reference so people maybe can understand a little bit deeper. So Brad died on a beach. You watched him die. For 6 years, you felt guilt. You felt a lot of pain. You felt...
Mostly, it was, pain, but pain from guilt.
Right.
It
That's
wasn't
what I mean.
my loss
Yeah.
as much as it was his wife and his kids.
Right.
And how can I be, why do my kids get to have a dad?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
there was a lot to it. There was anger. Why did you get to go?
Yeah.
Because if it was me, you would be sitting here with all this guilt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
There was so much involved
Right.
in it.
Well, which I think, understandably so. I could imagine when somebody has someone close to them die, you experienced all the range of emotions
100%. Yeah.
and struggled
Yeah.
to get
And
over that.
what didn't I do?
Sure.
What could I have done?
Right.
Those are so
And when you say,
So
the people who have lost...
deflating.
You're right. When you say people have lost kids, they get trapped in that loop that it sounds like you were trapped in, which was just all these emotions, and you didn't know how to get out of them. So that eventually led you kind of back to your roots of spirituality, spiritual concepts.
Singularness.
Specifically, you started listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza a lot because you had heard him on What the Bleep, and I'm telling your story for you. And that eventually led you to attending one of his workshops, and you had a very specific meditation on a very specific day at one of his workshops where you had this experience with Brad coming to you in the meditation saying, it's not my forgiveness you need, it's yours, basically. And in that moment, you experienced a higher frequency, the truth of who you really are, we'll say, with these balls of energy. You knew truth, your heart open.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. In that moment, and listen, I remember this like it happened 10 minutes ago. I mean, it was so etched into me. And it was like I had been looking through this filter of guilt, and shame was in there too, unworthiness. And when I came out of that meditation, I was looking at the world through those filters. And suddenly, when I came out of it, I wasn't. Like those filters were gone. And I saw reality. I saw how I was supposed to be seeing this. I saw this as a 5-year-old little boy playing in his backyard. I suddenly tasted the food. I suddenly saw the beauty everywhere. I felt it. I felt the dewiness of love. I don't know how else to describe it.
You were numb
in
to life.
every sense of my word, I was awakened. And that's that's kind of a trigger word a little bit because I got called that. Oh, he's awakened or
The woke.
No, not that. When you have I don't know. Enlightened. Oh, he's enlightened. And again, just more things to push me towards it. Yeah. It's like when people say that, and they were saying it to me, it was like, all right, well, you can't go outside and you can't go play with your trucks. And it's just like, no, fuck you. I'm going outside. Now I'm going to do it.
And we have 2 of those kinds of people now living together very happily.
Yes.
So I would say then to kind of bring this back around, that moment of Brad passing brought you to that moment. And even deeper, that diagnosis you may be experiencing can bring you to that deeper understanding of what he experienced, awakening to life, awakening to who you truly are. We hate like the overly used words, like the spiritual words or new age words. It's not really your and my style.
I think now it's gotten way advanced of that. Listen, there's too much evidence out there now that, come on, man, seriously?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You have to look at this. And I think because the reason I say that is because as I have elevated, right, in my frequency, I have changed my view of the people that are near and around me.
Yeah.
So the ones that don't resonate fall away because it's not that they're bad or anything like that. They just fall out of frequency. They live on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
But you live on the 5th floor now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's you changed your radio station.
Yeah.
They're singing country.
Yeah.
You're singing rap.
Is that supposed to be rap?
No, it wasn't supposed to be rap.
Yeah. And so what would you say? Oh, should I ask this question?
Sure.
To wrap it up, what would you say to somebody out there right now that's like, what's the first step that they can start doing if they're experiencing some kind of tragedy, some kind of loss, some kind of diagnosis?
You gotta find this power inside you. You do. You gotta find this belief of this knowing of you're not this character. And there's too much information out there now that I remember saying to somebody who was very close to me about someone who was very close to them, and they were saying how much back pain and how much leg pain that they were in. I said, well, maybe he should read this book. No, he would never believe in that. And it's like, that's like saying, I'd rather drive a car that is towed by a horse than get in a car that can drive on its own, right? There's just no excuse for that. So if that's what you, and listen, no judgment. If that's it for him, that's it for him. Maybe he's saying, and maybe they said to him, all right, you're going to go in at this spot, and let's call him Harry. All right, Harry, you're this character, Harry, and you're going to have kind of a shitty life. It's going to kind of suck. But, thankfully, you're not going to have to be there for too long. It's just kind of a follow-up game. And then the next go around, when you exit that Harry, that character, then you get to live your best life. This is going to be your best one coming up. But you have to go in for this one, and in you go. So maybe they know that for some reason. I remember having that conversation with someone that did one of the courses. And and saying, hey, because she was so flippant about being so sick and, cancer all over her body. And it was just like she was just going through the motions almost, like in the hospital and everything. And she would come on the calls. And finally I asked her, I said, I swear this is your story. And she goes, I totally identify with that. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. This is a mistake. I got dropped into this body, and this body's wrong for me. My next life is really the good one, so let's get on with it. And what if that's the truth? What if there is no death? Or what if we die every night? So again, back to the person that is suffering with this, you have to find the power within yourself. Because listen, if you can do this, right? If you can do this, if you can have thoughts in your head, if you can change a scent, right? From a flower to a piece of dog crap, right? The drastic change of scent. One is foul and I don't want to smell that, to another one, man, you can't get enough, right? Or taste. You have to open that up, and you have to, I hope that makes sense. You have to find what this thing that others may say is trying to kill you, what is it coming for you for? What is out there that is waiting for you that you just can't see yet until you have that moment in a room, on the floor, like I did? And that those filters get removed, and you actually get to see what you have been supposed to see all along.
That's beautiful.
Was that, honey? Did it bring a tear to your eye?
No, that's okay.
No.
I still loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hitch in your soul.
It was awesome. So, yeah, I think that is an important message, because so many people out there think that their worst moment is going to define them for forever. Not just define them, but as you said, they stop living life.
Don't.
Yeah.
Life, it's just way too short, and we take it way too seriously.
Yeah.
Way too seriously. And, being that little kid in a sandbox, all you imagine and all you dream of is being an adult and being able to control your life. And then pretty soon you turn 40 and 50 and 60, and you don't want to be that adult anymore. You just want to be the kid back in the sandbox. So just be in the sandbox and play, and just enjoy what you have when you have it and where you have it, and just experience the beauty, because it's everywhere. Yeah. There is always somebody worse off than you. 100%. Yeah. And I remember the day in New York. Do you know the conversation I'm going to have right now?
The day.
So we were in New York City, which is not my favorite place anymore. I used to like going there, but now Not at all. The energy is just way too much for me. That's another thing. You got to learn your body what it can tolerate when you start moving up into these higher frequencies, right? And I was just having an awful time. We went there to see one of our friends who we never saw because he kept dodging us, and paying all these outrageous, for parking. It was $100 for the day. Remember that? Because it was the truck. And I remember just being in such an angry, frustrated, just like, anger, rage. And we pull up to a stop sign or stoplight, and I'm just thinking, how bad can this get? How bad can this get? And there on the corner is a man in a wheelchair, and the man in a wheelchair is being pushed by somebody else, but the man in a wheelchair basically has no skin. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was the most devastating burn victim I had ever seen in my entire life. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a part of his body that was visible that wasn't grossly burnt. Mm-hmm. And I remember you said, but you could be him, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where you just feel stupid. That's when you're just like, oh my God, what
an asshole.
Serious, what an asshole. Yeah. I mean, this guy, you talk about hitting the lotteries of lotteries, like to switch with that man, that man showed up because I needed him to show up, not because he was there. Yeah. He showed up because I needed him to show up to remind myself, hey, dummy,
stop being
you're in the game. Yeah. You're not a victim. Yeah. You're living the greatest life, so make it. Don't see the ugliness. Take those filters out and see the beauty. It's always been there. No matter what, no matter who, no matter where you are. It's always there. You just have to pull the right filters out and put the right ones in.
That's a beautiful place to end this beautiful
Apparently
story.
I'm gonna get lucky.
I think that's a great spot to end this.
It is a great spot.
Kind of crazy episode number 2.
Yeah.
We were all over the place.
Listen, I was unprepared because I really didn't know what we were going to talk about. So if my ramblings went on, I apologize. And if you made it to this far, first off, all I have to say is what is wrong with you? But 2, thank you so much.
Yes.
And yeah, live your best life.
Yeah.
Seriously, live your best life.
Yeah, that's what we're here to talk
about. We are
about,
here
right?
for that. Yeah, and it is never too late.
No.
And the thing I will always say at the end of every podcast from now on.
Well, this isn't going to be the end, so do you want to wait? Because I, of course, want to plug the book one more time. So, Finding Ugly, it details much more coherently his journey and each lesson from 2 of his biggest journeys.
Good. And it's a great. I have to say,
it is.
This has really changed. I've had people actually say to me, "This is the best book I have ever read in my life."
Yeah.
Flattered by that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny because that person, there was 2 of them, and they both could not see, and they both could not hear, and they couldn't communicate because they were mannequins in a department store. Interesting, that fact. But no, what I was going to say is, and it doesn't have to be the end of every podcast, but maybe it will be, you have to remember your candle is burning. Period. End of sentence. Your candle is burning.
I thought you were going to say go find it.
Well, I'm always going to say go find it. So, you have to go find what has been waiting for you this whole time right underneath your stinking nose.
Yeah.
Right underneath your nose. And what's the excuse? Yeah. Because, listen, there's going to be a time where you're going to be laying in bed and you're going to be taking your last breaths. And I remember saying this to your grandfather, who I love dearly, saying to him, what do you regret?
Yeah.
What do you regret?
Yeah.
And what do you wish you did that you didn't?
Yeah. Pops.
Yep.
Gotta love us some.
And all you need to do is think of the people, your grandparents or your parents, if they're not here any longer, and ask them that question now. Yeah. And if that isn't enough juice to get your fucking life going, to stop hiding and stop stepping up, listen, if your life ain't worth living, you better fucking change it. You better change it. Yeah. That's an order. Yeah. Seriously.
Well,
but okay, I'm done.
Okay.
I don't want to preach. I don't have to yell at you.
Okay, so we're going to end it there. Thank you again so much for listening to our rantings and ravings, and hopefully inspired you. Check out the book. It's on Amazon. And hey, till next time.
Go find it.
Go find it.